Welcome, guys, once again to episode 10 of Tech 43. Us, me, Mark, being me, Eddie. Say hi, Eddie.
Hello.
And
Hi,
Brian.
Mark.
Brian, say hi.
Hi, Mark.
What we're going to try to do here in this little series today is kind of get an idea for a holiday gift guide, if you will. What's out there, not necessarily pricing, but the types of things out there and who you should be buying these things for, if that makes sense. We have some things in the smart home realm. We have some different sort of things with gaming, and then the normal sort of TV stuff that goes with Black Friday and with the gaming stuff that you're looking at. So I think initially what we wanted to start talking about was some of the smart home stuff, because all the time we're talking about the Google Home stuff and the Amazon Echo stuff. So I think, Eddie, you were talking a little bit about what's out there. You use a lot of different sort of doorbell / camera things that work really well together. So if I'm in a family and I'm thinking about, say, a thermostat, a camera, some smart light bulbs, what types of things is that providing for you? Because I know you have, I think, all of those things. What do those things do for you to make, say, your life easier? So someone can say, oh, this does this. This is going to help this person in my family.
The cameras are infinitely useful. Once you get used to having them, it's difficult not to have cameras set up everywhere, like outside, inside, for the obvious reasons, like somebody weird comes around, or you get strange folks or animals or something coming around. You can keep track of what's going on or what the heck's knocking over in your garbage in the middle of the night. To the not so obvious stuff, which is like you set your keys somewhere and you have no idea where you set them, and you can just roll back time and watch yourself go places. Like, it's the kind of stuff you never even think of. Most of the Nest stuff that you see that's on sale, like the cameras, the doorbell, they're integrated with two-way with microphones for audio and for speaking. So you've got the ability that someone comes to the door, the drop off packages. This is the time of year we have a ton of stuff dropped off at your house, and you might be working or you might be somewhere. And if they're expecting a signature, it might be a time sensitive thing. You can get on your doorbell and talk and say, hey, you can go ahead and leave that package. Or if like a person comes around looking to steal something off your porch, you can let them know you're watching them. Just things like that, at your fingertips, no matter where you are pretty vital, and they all work together. So those type of things not only display on your smart home, your smart home stuff on your phone, but even on some of these smart displays that you can purchase, you can get that to pop up. So if you have maybe some not so tech savvy family members, or if they are, kind of tech savvy, they just don't want to go through all the trouble of trying to sync everything and set it up. It's pretty automatic, where you can just set a smart display down, somebody rings the doorbell, and boom, they show up on your smart display at home. So it's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I think that my entrance into this world, thanks to Eddie, was the lighting aspect, which I just outfitted my mother's living room, kitchen, dining room to a point where I think her benefit was having lights on in the morning at a certain time when they wake up. So she's not necessarily coming into a room having to feel for a light switch or anything like that. She has it set that if they're getting up at 5 a.m., the lights turn on at 10 till. They're already on. They're shutting off automatically after they leave the house. So if you're thinking about, I don't want to call it laziness necessarily, but an ease of use, just making your day a little bit easier. And also, I think that goes towards a little bit of energy savings as well, because you're not forgetting to turn lights off, or if you do forget and don't have the time sensitive aspect set, you can shut them off from your phone, like Eddie said, when you get home. And that kind of goes along with the thermostat aspect. I think it being able to turn it on and off, but also to it kind of learning what temperatures you want at what times of the year, what times of day. So you're not having the air conditioner run all day in the summer and vice versa with the heat. The doorbell was a new thing. I think that do you have the newer doorbell, Eddie?
Yes.
I don't know that many. I think that's a newer entry into that whole smart home thing from what we're used to. So, what sort of things does that help with? I know that now with everyone receiving packages every day, and they get packages and they're like all smashed up, they can kind of see what the people actually did when they throw their stuff on their porch. What sort of things do you use it for?
The Nest Hello is the actual doorbell itself, and it's probably maybe 4 or 5 months old. It's not super. It's pretty new in terms of technology as far as it's been out, but it works. It integrates with everything Google related, including like Google Photos, where it's able to take people that you already know that you've taken pictures of already, and it learns who those people are, so that when they come around, it can announce it to you, and it'll read out to you on your device that, hey, the so and so is at the door. And if it doesn't recognize that person, then it'll say that, hey, there's an unfamiliar person at the door. But the nice thing is that you don't necessarily have to talk. It has the Google Assistant built in. So when someone does come and ring the doorbell, you have the option to let the Google Assistant talk to them and tell them what to do if you can't talk. So if you're in a meeting, you're at a board meeting or something, you're kind of sitting around and you see the doorbell went off, and then there's a guy with a package there. They're waiting to whether they're going to drop it off or take it back again. And it might be Friday and it's something you wanted for the weekend. With the press of a button, you can let the Google Assistant go ahead and take care of it for you. So it will, they'll say, hey, I'm not available right now. I can't come to the door, but you can go ahead and leave that package. So super, super cool there. It does have a microphone, like a two-way audio, so you can talk back and forth to that specific person, and it integrates with smart displays. So the moment they touch the doorbell, you can have it so that all your smart displays show the feed from the camera. So if you're in the shower or you're someplace where you have line of sight to your smart home display, when the doorbell goes off, you can look and see who it is. And then whether you have locks or other things, you can either let them in remotely or say something to them, tell them to go around the back. But it's all very well integrated into like the smart home world that Google has created for themselves.
I know Brian just mentioned he had just got the Home Hub. So I think that was probably some of the things you're going to use it for, I would imagine.
Ordered and on the way, arriving eventually.
Very nice.
So, I mean, when you're looking at a lot of these products and you're looking at it in terms of, who's going to use it, like who should I buy this for? Obviously the first thing that comes to mind is me. I want this stuff. However, when you're looking at it in terms of gift giving, a lot of this stuff is so easy to use and so integrates so seamlessly that really anybody can use it. You don't need a whole lot of tech savviness to hook a couple devices up to Wi-Fi or have your intelligent son or grandson or cousin or brother or sister or whoever roll in and do it for you too. So when I look at something like this, and I'm looking at, what should you get your parents for Christmas? Well, my dad could probably use one of these smart doorbells because he hangs out in his basement a lot. He has a little workshop down there and does stuff. So get him one of those doorbells and a smart hub. He doesn't have to learn how to do it on his phone because it's just going to show up on his hub whenever somebody comes to the door, and he's done. And then once you ease him into that, then you can be like, hey, you can also do this on your phone too, Dad. Did you know that? So whenever you're not home, you can keep an eye on stuff. A lot of times too, people assume like when you're looking at security cameras, they want it for keeping an eye on kids and things like that when you're not at home. You also have people, once again, like my dad, who have pets and are a little obsessed about them. And these types of security cameras are perfect for that situation. Plus that new broadcast ability will let you talk to your pets. Who doesn't love that idea?
Super exciting. I think the one of the big things about this smart home stuff is it's a little daunting because, especially when I first started looking at the lights, it's tough to just go in one day to any outlet that's going to sell these things and be like, I want all of these things. You kind of accumulate these things as you go. I think like Brian was saying, you kind of figure out what the person you love could use the most. And then once they kind of open their minds to what it does, some of the other products start to make sense for them as you kind of go, I think.
I think too, when you're looking at buying this kind of stuff for your family, don't necessarily blindside them with it, right? I mean, I have slowly, gradually introduced technology into my immediate family, and the Nest was a great starting point in a lot of ways. That's
you're not like super interacting with it; it just kind of does its
right.
thing.
It does its own thing. You can monitor it remotely if you need to. What I always tell people whenever they're like, hey, why do you need that? It's like, well, one, it sets its own schedule, and it's a lot better than an auto schedule because it actually does a good job monitoring the temperature based on the weather. And two, I can remotely set it as well. So if I know that I'm going to come home earlier than my Nest thinks I'm going to come home earlier, I can turn my heat on and get my freezing cold house warmed up to a decent temperature before I get home. My commute time from work varies anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how traffic is and how many deer got hit on the interstate. So, that way I can adjust my thermostat on the fly, save me some money in the short term, and go from there. And that was a very easy product to talk to people like my parents about. Like, it's a thermostat, but you can just monitor it from your phone. And then you start getting into, well, this is a doorbell now that you can do the same thing from. These are things that people are already used to having in their house, and you're just adding that extra, but you can do these things remotely, and it can make your life easier because blank. It's a doorbell that you can see who's at the door. You can talk to them through it. Example, and you can work your own personal anecdotes in there. Once you start getting into lighting and things like that, that's where, you don't want to just drop that bomb on somebody necessarily. Like,
it came for me, and how it came about for me was I was talking about what the lighting did for me in my house. As far as, okay, I get up at 6:30 every morning. The lights are already on. They turn on at 6:25 every morning, and they turn off at 7:30 after I'm gone. And then you start to see the looks that people give you, like, wait, my lights can do that? Can I have lights that do that? Or can I change the temperature of the lights? I don't like the fact that I have to buy the lights are this bright or this warm or whatever, so they can change things like that, or only turn certain lights on at certain points without having to get up and do something. So once your family, or once the people that you're looking to buy these things for see maybe what it's doing for you, or if you have a conversation about it, if you're buying gifts sneakily, if you will, I think that kind of helps people sell in their own head to themselves, oh, this is going to do this for me. This is something I could really benefit from. And I think this time of year, why we're talking about it is most of these devices, I think as Eddie was kind of looking at prior to us coming on, are discounted in some form or factor to a point where you can kind of enter this ecosystem it a little easier on your pocketbook at this point. So that's kind of why we wanted to cover it a little bit. And I think if we're being honest, there's different types of ecosystems. So we talk a lot. Eddie's house is a Google Home, not literally not the actual device.
You're gonna have to use that awkward phrasing of a Google Home.
A Google household. And there's other options. I mean, the Amazon Echo is a very popular device, whether it be the original. There's many deals on the Dot, whether it be the second or third generation. The Show, which I think is their first display.
I was gonna say, why don't we talked at length on previous episodes about the Google stuff, so I don't know that we need to go too far into that. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Amazon stuff, because that we've never really covered.
Right. So and from what and they're, I mean, across what I've seen, anywhere from $130 to $25 to $20 off. They have a similar imprint in your house to what the Google Homes are, I guess, if I can go that route. They're really tied into, if you find yourself on Amazon a lot, they're very, very much tied into your account in that aspect, whether it be ordering things, from what I've heard as far as people that have them in their household. If you're tied into the Amazon ecosystem, if you will, then it's easy to purchase things, make purchases by talking to the the Echo versus maybe setting a reminder on a Google device to then order things from Amazon. I think if you want to chime in, Eddie, they do similar things. Alexa does similar things assistant wise, but I think you just add the Amazon functionality, if you will.
They're both similar. Google Express is pretty well linked into the Google Home stuff, so you can tell it to order something, and Google Express will order it and send it to you. So they've kind of reached, parity with one another as far as the shopping aspect, except Amazon has a nearly infinite range of things you can purchase. Google Express is limited to several hundred types of retail locations that you can get things from, but it's not quite so granular like Amazon is. Like, you can literally get the most mundane, like a pack of toothpicks can arrive at your door
you can see them arrive at your door with your doorbell, from what I've heard.
No effort. And yes, and Amazon has a more integrated system as far as from the time you order it to the time it arrives at your home. Providing that you're a trusting individual, you can order something, someone from Amazon brings it to your house, and then Amazon opens the door for them to let them put the package inside your house, and then said person closes the door, and then the door locks again. That puts a tremendous amount of trust in the whole process as far as it goes. But that is one thing that in addition to, that's one thing that it does in addition to what the Google stuff doesn't currently, is the ability for, you're not actually monitoring the thing, Amazon is. So it's not, you're not, somebody comes to the door and you don't see the notification on your phone. It doesn't kind of automatically happen, as opposed to the ability for someone from Amazon to come to your house and that door lock opens for them. So
there you go. There's that.
It's there.
It's there. I think we'll talk a little bit about TVs later on, but they have Fire TVs now a thing. There are just overall is being able to kind of integrate that with your television. I know that I have TVs that are integrated through Chromecast, which is the Google equivalent, if you will, I guess, to where you're speaking to an assistant that then throws something on a television. I know a lot of that's built into TVs these days with Google Assistant or an Amazon Alexa type of functionality. So I guess working with your television, and I was binging The Office yesterday and just literally telling Google next episode when I was done, and I didn't move, which doesn't help the healthy lifestyle, but it was kind of another functionality of, okay, I'm watching this on my TV based on it streaming on Netflix from my assistant, my Google Home that was sitting on my nightstand. So that's a functionality that some people want to be able to have if they can't find the remote in the area or whatever else. Again, call me lazy, but it's another feature that you can use.
Amazon's geared toward more of the shopping experience, and then Google is more geared toward the thoughtful home, as far as like that. That's kind of, they both do very similar things. It's just that I think that Google has a better grasp on the home aspect, and Amazon is much better integrated into the shopping system. Although Amazon's hot word detection, or I should say hot word rejection algorithms, are significantly better than Google's, because I can watch a commercial that says the magic wake up word and the Echo will remain silent. And just, one Google commercial comes on where they're saying the magic keywords, and my whole house is going nuts. One room is singing, the other room is playing heavy metal, one room shuts the television off. Like it's I don't understand why they can't reject their own commercials, because they know what it's coming. But Amazon has had a grasp on that, and you can absolutely watch an Amazon commercial and your smart home stuff will not even budge. But with the same, I watched the Google keynote, and it was almost impossible because it kept shutting itself off. Like I had to like mute all of the products in my house, every microphone. So, but that's definitely something that that you notice when you have them both.
I think that
Notice how none of us are saying that phrase either.
I stopped watching YouTube for a while, or like kind of YouTube videos where they were doing reviews on these boxes. It was just kicking everything on. And I think the YouTube channels that I do subscribe to have started to censor some of that stuff out or change their phrasing.
I do. I bleep it out so that it doesn't show, because it's unbelievably irritating to try to do that while the rest of the house is going crazy because it thinks you're talking to it. So,
right. Does between the Amazon Echo aspect or the Alexa, the actual Alexa speaker, versus the Google options, does either of those fit a certain type of person more so than the other? Like I think you said, it's the Amazon stuff is geared towards the shopping experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I would say that maybe I'd give the edge to Google for having a little bit more simplistic setup as far as setting up multiple devices goes. As long as you began from your phone, because they have the smart lock process, which whenever you get a new Google product, you can open up the app and it kind of takes care of it without you having to re-input passwords and do a bunch of rigmarole to get it to work. It's just kind of, it integrates across the whole line. Whereas a lot of the Amazon stuff, Amazon actually doesn't manufacture. So you've got their door lock is made by August, and they have purchased and acquired some of these companies, but they're still exhibiting some of the issues that Google did years ago, where everything was the same but different, right? Like it was, you couldn't easily, you could get them to talk to each other, but it was like I was like, I can't believe the same company made both of these things. Like, it's like, did they never talk to one another ever? Like they had like a neighbor feud or something. We're like, we're not talking to them. They stink. And so like, then two products come out and it could not be harder to get them together. But that's sort of gone by the wayside now. And they seem to have got a pretty good grasp on making not only the stuff that they sell, that they make, work together well, but third-party manufacturers seem to have very little problem getting their products to seamlessly connect. And I mean, the setup process is the most, if you're going to get a gift for a family member, especially when it's not very tech savvy, the two most important things are, is it easy to use and is it easy to set up? If it's not easy to set up, it'll never be set up. It'll like sit plugged in, like waiting, like to be set up for till next Christmas, when you're like, oh,
or until you make another trip to that house.
I've never used it. So, but, and then ease of use and how the easier it is to use it. And that kind of gets you into the habit of, you're no longer sort of intimidated by it. And then other products are easier your next gift can be something similar, and they're not going to shy away from it.
Yeah. So I think we have the Google aspect, which is more of an integrated smart home aspect, and then the Amazon devices that kind of keep your shopping experience and make everything easy in that aspect. When you're looking at the Google stuff, I think all the stuff that really works on that end that talks really well together is the Google devices. So we're talking like Nest, from what you were saying, Eddie, with the doorbell, and what Brian was talking about with the thermostat. They make their own cameras. Granted, there's other third-party companies that work with these assistants or your smartphone or whatever. These are the things that, to get the functionality Eddie's talking about, with things just popping up on your other devices and them working together to kind of make it so you can see your pets if you're one of Brian's family or whatnot. You want to, if you're in the Google ecosystem. What's that?
Brian does that too.
Oh, well, Brian doesn't. So if you're in the Google ecosystem, look at the Nest products. Look at, I think Ring's pretty good with that stuff too, for the doorbell and things like that. Chromecast do really well on TVs that may not already be smart TVs, or you want to kind of work with your smart hubs. So those are the types of things. Philips Hue for the light bulbs. There's LifeX, I think, is another company. All of these things seem to be in some form or fashion discounted at this time of year. You'll find those on almost any outlet at this point. So
it's a good time to start to get into it if you're thinking about getting into it, just because the prices are more reasonable. And it's definitely recommended that you stick with brands like that are notorious for caring about security. And when I say security, not your home security, but like the actual product security. You see a lot of these. You can go anywhere. You can drive down to Walmart and find, a $12 internet connected camera for your house that is going to be the most insecure from a network standpoint, where you don't think about those things. You just see that it acts as a camera, but you don't think that someone could drive outside with their laptop and siphon off your internet traffic right. as you're doing it, or even when you're not there. So it's definitely recommended to stick with a companies and brands that take that seriously, because these are essentially networked into your home. This is your house network, and your home network is only as secure as the weakest product that you put in it. So, being vigilant with this kind of stuff and paying close attention to, this is one of the instances where there's a $20 connected camera and a $100 connected camera. The difference is usually in the actual support and where that data goes, because you're now offering up data. I mean, it's who do you trust your data with? Because it's audio data, it's visual data. But that's the my personal recommendation.
You went straight to the
is to
here goes your information out the window conversation, which is tough.
But it's I know that I've seen some crazy, like, cheap products, and if you just do a quick YouTube search, you'll find some clever person showing you how easy it is to absolutely just siphon everything out of it, just because that product that they sold will never get supported or never get security patches ever. So
fair enough. I agree with Eddie. You want to be as secure as possible, because I mean, if you're doing shopping on these devices, if you're buying things, if you're putting stuff in your Amazon cart and paying for things with stuff like that, I mean, obviously you want that information to be secure. And to get the most out of these products, I think at the end of this conversation is that you want to have them all intertwined and be able to do all of the things that they do well with the other device that you have. And once you get to that point, you're invested, and you want that investment to be in something secure, not necessarily a $12 camera from Walmart, if you will. That was a general type of statement, so we're not talking down on Wally World, but I mean, I think I get the reasoning for that conversation. But some of that conversation was more for getting you guys an idea of how you can position these things. If you're like, I don't know, I'm not really sure what these smart devices are for, or how they'll help anyone. Some of the stuff these guys talked about, I think, makes sense for you to kind of think. We all know our loved ones best, so we kind of know what these devices can do for them, how we can actually get these guys to be able to accept them into their homes and actually set them up and not sit them there for a year, like Eddie said. And now is the time to kind of get your entrance into these things, because there's a lot of discounts involved. So the Apple HomePod was heavily discounted, I think, as well. Does that have a place in the home as far as integration goes? I know that it's newish, it's kind of pricey, but how is that going to work with devices? Because a lot of people have Apple TVs, iPhones, and things like that.
It will work, fine with those particular products. It will work fine. HomePod is a good product if it's you. It would be a good product that I would get for like a family who didn't entertain a ton of guests, or it's a very singular product. You could only connect an iPhone to it. Like there's a lot of limitations with it as far as it's a Bluetooth speaker that's not Bluetooth. So you can't just connect any old device to it to make it play. So you wouldn't have, friends or family over, and if they didn't have an iPhone, they technically wouldn't be able to try it. Like you'd have to be there to show them, oh yeah, this works with my iPhone, and also Siri, which if you're a non-tech savvy person will easily infuriate you when trying to get anything answered, or just your basic asking it something that's more complex than the weather, and I can't even say play a song, because we tried to do something
has to come from Apple Music, I think.
Yeah, and it's like not super friendly as far as what it just doesn't have a wealth of content to pull from. So you don't get very specific and tailored answers to the things you're talking about. You just get a very cookie cutter. It's like a magic trick. Like you can just go in and show some, oh yeah, hey, I can talk and say this and that, and then it tells me where to hide a dead body, or where to, like, it tells jokes and it's funny like that, but it doesn't have that wealth of content that some of the others do.
It's not pulling from a Google type of database of information.
Right.
I mean, if you have an iPhone and you've attempted to use Siri, I think you kind of understand what Eddie's saying at this point, because it's just Siri in a box, if you will, in a speaker. Nobody is letting that genie out of that box. This is not a magic type of scenario.
There's a reason it's disabled on my iPhone that I have for work, because it's useless.
I have Google Assistant on my iPhone, so
it's just not. It's fine for basic things. It's just, it would have to be probably a more technically savvy Apple person that I would provide that for a gift for. I wouldn't get it for my grandma. I would definitely, like, if she asked the HomePod, for a recipe for something, or she asked Google, I would be a million times more confident that Google, regardless of how just how cryptic her talking was, like when she was trying to ask a question, Google tends to get it, whereas Siri will just shut down and give up. So, or show you something completely irrelevant to what it is that you were trying to do. So, semi-tech savvy or big Apple fan, it's a great gift for someone who's not quite so tech savvy. I would look at the other two, either Amazon or Google, for that.
Makes sense. I saw that it was on discount for a decent discount. I think it was $100 where I saw it. So I thought maybe it could kind of start to work its way into people's homes. But like you said, it was a Bluetooth speaker that's not Bluetooth. So you're really only working with iPhones.
It'll kind of be like that smart alecky cousin that nobody wants around for the holidays. Doesn't really know anything, gives you sassy answers for everything that you ask it.
It's me. Is what it is.
It sounds great. I mean, it sounds amazing. It's just it lacks the wealth of content that of the internet that Google has acquired over time, and in some respects what Amazon can tap into. But there really is, like, there's just little silly, stupid things that you can get from, like, for Google, for instance. you've got family coming over now, and you've got maybe someone who's 4 or 5 or 6, and you go to read them a story, and your Google Home can listen to you read and provide sound effects for you while you're reading. That is incredible. Like, just such a silly, cool thing that's the kind of stuff that you're like, ooh, I could use this for my little one. It's that kind of simplicity and neat little things that it does that gets you to, makes it a good gift, because when somebody sees that, they're like, oh, I would love to have that, and you can get some of these for super cheap. So it makes a good stocking stuffer.
Yeah, it's super intuitive. I mean, I've sat with my nieces and nephews and played Mad Libs on a Google Home. So like a little stuff where they get excited about it and it takes up some of their attention, so they're not tearing their house up during the holidays, which is nice. On top of setting timers, which especially I think what they're positioning these hubs for in the smart displays to be in the kitchen for those types of things. So setting alarms, being able to have, when we're talking about smart homes, especially for the Google Home Hub, having all of those controls for from a swipe down on that display to be able to kind of control what you have going on in your house is I think great to have in one device. So when you get to a point where you're acquiring these things and building the ecosystem within your home, you're controlling all of that from either your smartphone, saying it to one of the assistants, or just controlling it with the hub at that point. It kind of covers all the bases if some people get weirded out about just telling your assistant to do that instead of don't yelling the hey other word, and not really wanting to deal with it a certain way. So I think
that pull down is surprisingly my wife uses that, and I would have never guessed, but she doesn't always appreciate talking to it because it'll do maybe not exactly as she intended, but has no problem walking past it, pulling it down, and interacting with it in that respect. And sounds like we're about ready to close up from the hub standpoint, but another interesting thing, and it's something that they said at the keynote, was that it's like the greatest picture frame ever, where it constantly updates, and you can set it up for your family, your parents or your grandparents, and you can select the type of people that it cares about. And then as I go around and take pictures of my family, it looks for those faces, and then it references my device to pull the pictures and put them onto that device. That's pretty nifty.
There was for the last couple, probably the last 5 years, those digital picture frames have been a thing where you have to load photos onto it. This is just pulling from Google Photos, I would imagine. So if you're taking photos, I mean, I have Google Photos on my iPhone, so it's not something that's limited to Android devices. So if you have that application on your phone and you have one of these hubs, this is next level digital picture frame type of stuff. When it knows, I don't care about Aunt Judy, but I love mom and dad and cousin Ed. So you have mom and dad and cousin Ed. Aunt Judy is not in the picture, so keeps everything in perspective, I guess. So that's kind of cool. And like Eddie said, I don't think that it's going to stop there. You're just going to consistently see new features come with this device. So you can kind of grow with it, and some things are more productive to each individual than others, but everyone uses them differently, which is half of the fun of any of these things. So
I'm going to make one commentary here. I enjoy how Eddie is like, here's a great way that this thing makes you closer to your family. And Mark, your perspective on it is, here's a really good way to shade your family members using this technology. I think that closes up our Google Home Hub discussion.
Yeah. I have Google as a giant troll, so it is what it is. They just say stuff.
I'm like, I love how it gets everybody together. He's like, I love how it cuts them out of there. It's amazing.
I don't have an Aunt Judy, and that was not a euphemism for anyone.
That sounds like something someone would say that hates their Aunt Judy.
I don't have an Aunt Judy, so I don't.
Sucks. She's dead to me. She sucks.
This is getting dark. It's getting dark. I'm good. But if we're gonna transition our way into this, I know Eddie has a kid in the house, and kind of a giant kid himself, as well as Brian. I think we all do a little bit of gaming, if you will. There's a bunch of deals going on with systems, video game systems and consoles right now. And then we'll get into some of the ways you can make that experience better on larger televisions, which obviously are like the biggest thing we're talking about during this holiday season. So, Brian, I think you went over a bunch of stuff, or found a lot of stuff for us about what's going on with these things, and what's kind of out there to be had right now.
I took part in some of the deals myself.
Very nice.
So, as I was talking to Mark and Eddie before this, you know, the Nintendo Switch was on sale for Black Friday, and there seems like there's going to continue to be some promotions around it too. It's still full price, but you're getting, you know, relatively new games bundled into it. So Mario Kart 8 was bundled in for free, or gift cards through vendors like GameStop had it as well. But I spent the last 19 hours out of the past 48 playing Let's Go Pikachu. So, you know, so that is one way to entertain your children for that entire week that they're home from school. Hook them up with a Nintendo Switch and Let's Go Pikachu and go nuts. Other deals, and probably the best deal that's out there, the PlayStation 4 Slim 1 terabyte Spider-Man bundle for $200. Like that's a steal. I can't think of any better deal.
Best deal right now.
So it's originally 300.
Yeah.
And the game is 60.
Right.
So, I mean, if you just take the game into consideration, you're talking like $140 PlayStation. That's the best deal I've seen in a long time from a gaming system standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you somehow haven't gotten a PlayStation 4 and want one, now is the time to do it. Xbox is running a similar deal, a competitive deal for is it the S system? We went over this before. The S, because I still don't fully understand the difference between the X and the S, given that I own a PlayStation myself and don't care about
it. It was
Xbox
the 4K gaming, was it not?
The S was like a slightly improved. The S was a slightly improved graphics, something similar to the Pro. Like similar to the PS4 Pro, like the S was just slightly enhanced graphics, which gave it like HDR, gave it some additional capabilities. The X was a completely new architecture. From a CPU standpoint, they used something that's not quite like a Threadripper from the AMD's Ryzen Threadripper. It was a similar chip. It's close to a new, like a system, console jump in generations as you can get without actually. It's like upgrading your PC, I guess.
So it's an upgrade in graphics.
The S is a slight upgrade in graphics. The X is like a leap forward in graphics, and it's probably only held back by the fact that they're trying to take a PC approach with games where you're getting better frame rates and better graphic fidelity, like better visuals, as opposed to if they were to say, well, this game isn't going to work on your old Xbox. This is only going to work on the One X. You would see some substantial improvements, but they're kind of teetering that. They're treating it like a PC, but that's probably the biggest. The S and the PS4 Pro would be similar. The X, PlayStation doesn't have anything currently that would match it in terms of performance, but of course it also doesn't in price. From a pricing perspective, you're paying a heck of a lot more for that X than you are for everything else.
Was the pricing I saw an X, a 1 terabyte Xbox One X was originally $500. Does it sound right? And now I think the deal was
$399 or something now.
Yeah, so they're $100 off.
Definitely not a bad deal, but
obviously more than what
price and performance kind of thing. Like that, I am an Xbox fan, but that PlayStation Spider-Man deal takes the cake.
I think some other smaller things that are out there too. You know, Target is running a special on Xbox Live subscriptions. They're $10 off for a 12-month subscription, so that's a good deal. Sony is running specials on all their DualShock 4s, so those are down $25 from their, in my opinion, already heinously overpriced price of $65.
They're super, and it's because they're camo. I mean, you buy a camo freaking controller, and it's $70. Like, come on, $65, whatever.
To their credit, right? I've had the DualShock, like I've had a PS4 for 4 years now, I think. Right after it came out, maybe 6 months after it came out is when I purchased one. those controllers are still around and kicking, like both of them that we bought that day with the system. So, I mean, they're going to last you a long time. So now's a good time to get them at a cheap price. Nintendo Switch wired controllers, not the actual Nintendo made ones, but they're these like super high gloss, shiny, metallic looking things. A little atrocious, a little tacky looking, but they are only $25. You know, that's a good deal considering the fact that Joy-Cons are $70.
That's
I
tough.
think
That's
Pro
tough.
controllers too are on sale a little bit.
Yeah, the
Normal.
Pro wired controller was a steal at GameStop over the weekend. I don't think that pricing is continuing. The wireless one was on sale, and I think it was down to 60 from whatever its normal price was.
And I would say, like, just from having a little one, that is something that they want to have for playing Fortnite. So if like you've got one of your family members is big into Fortnite and it's on the Switch, and they were like really jonesing for a Pro controller, keeping an eye out for that, because I've seen them over the past couple of days for cheaper than I think you'll be able to get any time after the holiday's over. So,
yep. So yeah, some awesome deals there. But when you get a new system, Mark, this is where you come in. You need something new to look at that system on. So tell us about TVs, Mark.
Right. Isn't basically Black Friday and Cyber Monday about how big of a TV can you buy for how little of a price at this point? We're in my family. It's kind of a shopping thing because we have some issues with pixels being burned out in a couple of televisions that we own. So right now it's just a matter of price points and everything. But honestly, from all of the shopping I've done, kind of rolling around, and I think most of the deals I saw were in Best Buy because they have a larger variety of brands and then in sizes. You're basically able to enter the world of 4K, Ultra HD, have HDR. All these are smart TVs, and you're starting at a Samsung 65-inch LED device. TV, if you will, that starts at $599. So $599 for a 65-inch smart LED 4K device that, I mean, right now, how much content is actually in 4K? Not as much as you'd probably think. There's some stuff on Netflix, but I mean, it's tough unless you're buying directly for 4K content. But
I would say gaming, or if you download your movies, because both Apple from iTunes and Google from Google Play are going in and retroactively updating your movie purchases for free to the 4K version. So if you download and purchase your movies, or you rent them from iTunes or the Google Play Store, then that would be a super reasonable thing to. I would actually go out and seek a 4K, because you're getting the update and not really getting to see what a difference it makes. And then of course gaming, not only for now, but with these current crop of generation consoles like PlayStation and Xbox are like really due for a refresh, and they kind of like tiptoed into 4K, but this next generation will certainly, almost certainly require it, as far as something to really get the most out of it. So,
yeah, I think you're right. And I didn't realize that they were retroactively upgrading the quality of your purchases, whether for content. So that's a major perk. I know I have some movies sitting in the Play Store that I bought that are in HD, not necessarily 4K. So if you're in the 4K realm of gaming, this is where you want to be, because like Eddie said, you want to future-proof yourself, because this content going forward is going to be more and more in that resolution. So you're getting smart functionality, so you're not necessarily having to do, say, a Chromecast or something to get Netflix functionality, Hulu functionality, and things like that. That 65-inch Samsung TV, it was $599, where it was down from $799. So you're getting a $200 savings at Best Buy on that. What I saw for the most part was different ones. I mean, a lot of these there's 65-inch Sony. This is a smart TV, 4K UHD HDR, $999, down from $13.99, so $400 off of that. Some of this is brand loyalty as well. The higher the price point, sometimes the thinner the device, so that maybe it's easier to mount depending on where you're putting it. There's a 75-inch Samsung that I ran across, so it's starting to get into some is it going to fit through my door conversations, but same sort of thing. Smart TV, 4K, UHD, HDR, $12.99 for a $1,700 television. So you're saving $400. And the best deal I saw, I don't know which line this is necessarily from Samsung, but a Magnolia 75-inch LED. So it's Samsung made. The NU 8000 series, 4K, Ultra HD, HDR, originally $2,300 is $1,600. So we're saving over $700 on a 75-inch TV. And if you're in that, I think most people, when they're looking at a larger TV, are in that, like to be in that $1,000 range. So if you can add 10 inches to your display for another couple $100, and you're saving $700 right there to put the Xbox One X up there with it and be able to,
Mark,
to do
you
that
just
type of stuff.
paid for an Xbox One X right there with your
Right.
savings,
Right.
and a PlayStation 4.
That's the message you'll get whenever you open it up. It'll tell you how many. They're doing it every day. Like every day, it'll say like 1 or 2 more have been updated for free to 4K. So
So for our people out there that have a 4K TV that isn't a smart TV, though, that would require the 4K compatible Chromecast, correct?
sure would.
So keep that in mind while you're out there
Or
doing your
the
shopping.
4K Apple TV for that matter.
True.
Because Apple's doing it as well, so it's something that they're both doing. So you would need some kind of 4K compatible hard TV box, like streaming box, in order to fully take advantage of that. So unless it's built in, of course.
True. And I think everything, if you already, and like Brian said, if you already have a TV that's not necessarily smart, it's not super hard to make sure if you're picking up Chromecast, make sure it's the 4K version. So I think, is that not the most new model, but the model prior that
I think
brought
it's
4K?
a hair more expensive.
Yeah, it's the model prior, and it is a hair more expensive. They're like usually $10 to $20 more.
Chromecast Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
So those will give you 4K functionality when casting to that device on your TV.
Yeah, Chromecast Ultra starts at $70. They're currently on sale.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
that's what you want, is the Ultra. If you have a 4K TV, but not a 4K smart TV, which I feel like would be unusual, right? Like I feel like if you bought a 4K TV when they came out, you're like, let's go big or go home. Give me that smart functionality.
Yeah, I think that, and I think at this point, 4K and smart TVs the entry level anymore. Like you're having applications built into the infrastructure, if you will, of the TV. So that's kind of a base sort of thing, unless there's still TVs that aren't smart TVs. But the Chromecast Ultra will fix that for you. So I should have got pictures up for those TVs. There's honestly, when I look these prices up, there's not that much difference when you're physically looking at the TVs, minus maybe how the stands look, whether it's a center mounted stand or 2 legs. I'll try to get some links in the description for these from Best Buy. So at least once we get this video up, you may be able to go directly there and kind of see what these deals look like, hopefully through tomorrow.
One thing I do want to point out is, right, a 75-inch TV. That's that's a TV that is taller than I am.
So he's not going to help you carry your TV in your house.
Exactly, right. I mean,
and from the Chromecast perspective, it is the Ultra is not the newest one. I could see someone who wasn't necessarily super up on this. The newest Chromecast is still capped at 1080p, so they just redesigned it and did some things with it. But currently, if you're looking for the best possible experience for your 4K TV, it won't be the newest Chromecast. So I could definitely see how one would walk in there and say, well, this is the newest one, so it has to do it. This is one of those instances where the newest one does not have the same functionality as the one prior.
That's a good call out, because I didn't realize that. I assumed that after that Chromecast Ultra that everyone after that would have that.
Absolutely. I was so pumped. I was like, yes, there's a new Chromecast. I went and picked it up and I was like, oh, I can't do anything with this. This is the most disappointing launch of a product ever.
This is garbage. This is a terrible thing. Just
yeah, that's right.
I think that's one that they accidentally had, like somebody in a Best Buy sold it by accident, like the day before it came out. That's why it doesn't matter if they sold it, because it wasn't all that good.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking, but in this respect, it's not what you're not going to be looking for the newest one. And in this case, you'll be looking from a pricing perspective, more expensive one.
Look for the most expensive Chromecast.
That will give you the 4K.
Chromecast Ultra. So unless that's the only one with that name.
So when it says Ultra, and it actually has it on the front of the box, like it'll say 4K, and it's pretty well printed on the front of the box, so it would be hard to miss. But of course, like I said, I've gone to like Best Buy and to places where all the products are like hidden behind 10 feet of glass, and you can't like actually get in to look at and experience the box for itself. You're kind of looking at the product and just passing by, and the person who's working may not know this. And you're going in to pick up a gift for somebody who bought a 4K TV, and you're saying, well, this will be a great stocking stuffer for them. I'd like the Chromecast for my TV, and they pick out the newest one thinking that's going to be the one that you want, when it actually isn't.
Good call out there. But those are some of the TVs that would be able to kind of pair with the crazy deals we're getting console-wise to be able to take advantage of some 4K that is now an option with the One X. But I mean, even with the PlayStation 4 bundle with the Spider-Man game, it's kind of tough to beat at this point to kind of get into that world at the $199 price point. So I think that was the majority of kind of what we wanted to take a different route to this gift buying guide, if you will. And I know a lot of people are intrigued by the smart home aspect and how this really affects them or how it can benefit them. So kind of getting some of the ideas of what those things will do and who they're for, and how you can help people understand why it's going to be productive for them. We obviously think all these things will work really well for everyone. If you can't see the value, then you're not going to use it. So how you can kind of make these things work for your friends and family. Hopefully that was helpful in some form or fashion. Do you guys have anything you want to add? I know, I think Eddie will probably, do you have anything coming up that you're reviewing for the season?
I do, but I don't know that would fit with the theme of this show. So I would say that's
fair enough. That's Eddie Daniel. So if you guys want to check him out on his YouTube channel, that's his name. That's how you search for him. All things Tech Nerd. All things Tech Nerd.
Yep, that'll get me above the clarinet player. Everything else will get me below the clarinet player. Although, might as well plug the guy. I mean, enjoy a beautiful snet from him before you get some tech news.
It needs to be Frosty the Snowman.
Piped through the clarinet.
If it's not Frosty the Snowman, I'm not listening to it. So Eddie Daniels, all things Tech Nerd.
Find that link. That's going right in the comments.
Brian, is there anything that I know that you had a bunch of looks at the gaming aspects of things, so I don't know if there's anything left that you wanted to cover.
There are still going to be a lot of good deals on some top titles, right? So our personal favorite, Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition, it was like $20 on the PlayStation Store, if not less. So
the complete edition being the game and then the DLC.
Yeah, and the one DLC that they decided to come out with before they were like, we need to make a whole nother game. And then all of us went, all right, that's fine. So that's out there. There was a God of War was on sale. A lot of these deals on the PlayStation Network are running through, I believe, this week. And then they're going to start their normal monthly deals anyway. So what I would say, keep an eye out on the digital downloads if you're looking for something for yourself. but Target and Best Buy and GameStop have been running specials pretty much all November and had some really good prices on Black Friday, and some good deals for tomorrow for Cyber Monday. So I expect them to kind of keep it up. And it's not like 2-year-old games either. I mean, these are games that came out this year, like the God of War 50% off. That's going to be game of the year, hands down.
Fallout 76 is on sale also, and it just came out like 2 Tuesdays ago.
It's like $35 or $38, $39 or something like that.
Call of Duty Black Ops. There's a bunch of stuff in there. So
yeah, Black Ops 4 was on sale. I think that was almost 50% off. And then of course your microtransactions are on sale too. So if you want to
horse armor,
some V-Bucks,
if you need some horse armor.
Yeah. There you go. That's all I had to add, Mark.
I think what we probably should do also is most folks watch this after the fact. So you may be catching this based off of a tag that you had some questions about your smart device that you did get for the holiday, and you might be watching this after the fact. So I don't know that we ever encourage comments, but I would say in this instance, this would be a great opportunity for, if you did catch us by searching for help for the stuff you did get for the holidays, but drop in a comment with your question in below. I think that there'd be some use cases where you say, hey, I got all this stuff and I have no idea how to use it. I think that, that we would have no problem, putting it in to the show and answering the question as far as like some of the things you can do or some ideas that we have, or even just some help setting them up.
I was going to say we'll answer the questions regardless. We'll read the comments and answer the questions. But two,
not Aunt Judy.
No one's talking to Aunt Judy. But also too, like Eddie said, if we need to do an entire episode on the setup or some of the things that are going on with how to use them, 100%, that's not an issue at all.
Yeah, I just wanted to, it's because a lot of times or if you're thinking about it, same thing, you can, ask questions before, because we'll have another episode or two prior to Christmas. So if you have some questions on, like, I understand that everybody likes smart lights, but I don't understand why that's silly, I can just flip the switch. Like, there's a lot of stuff that, you can ask that we can answer, because there's things you wouldn't think of. Like, I've got family coming over who don't know where my light switches are, and when they can get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom and my cameras catch them and turn the lights on for them, like, there's just something not only cool about that, but there's just a bunch of uses that you just normally wouldn't think of. And
there's motion detection involved and everything else. So
this is what we do. We've done all this stuff. So use us for that.
Installed all of this stuff too. It's not like we hire, my Ring video doorbell, my Nest, myself did not electrocute myself that badly when I did the Nest. So trial and error. We have that experience. We've done it. We can tell you what worked for us and what didn't. I have a 50-year-old house with 50-year-old wiring, and all of my stuff works. So, it is possible.
10-year-old house with 10-year-old wiring, so we got it pretty much covered.
Yep,
I'm somewhere in the middle, I think. So that's fine. But yes, absolutely. Drop a comment if there's a question about what you saw, whether it be pricing, whether it be setup. If there's other things that you want to see done as far as the next episode goes, Eddie was right. We'll probably have another episode or two prior to the holiday. We can address some of that stuff going forward. So I think we just want to be as much help as possible, I think. So that being said, if you guys don't have anything else to add, Eddie said bye, Mark, in the chat. So that's exciting. You can say bye to our audience as well.
See you guys later.
Brian.
Bye, everybody.
We'll see you guys hopefully soon before the holiday. That's it for us. See you in the next episode.